So I decided that I am going to matchmake the lightweight division. The UFC is getting so stale, man. It is so sad. We really have no big matchups to be hyped about coming out, apart from Volkanovski, Diego Lopez, and maybe two others. I believe that the lightweight division is at the forefront of fixing this problem. Disclaimer, now I left off scheduled fights like Tidy versus Chandler to focus on matchups that can be made within the next year. These fights can work on main cards at least and deliver. Once a fighter has an opponent, we move on to the next according to UFC.com. So when I matchmake Oliveira against somebody or I matchmake Dustin Poirier against somebody, I'm not going to have a slide dedicated to Dustin Poirier. Um, and then once a fighter, yeah. We move on to the next. I cannot talk. We move on to the next according to UFC.com, and then I had to switch over to Tapology because the UFC only has a top 15, so it's gonna get confusing here. And then the reason I'm making this video, the lightweight division, the history behind it, Khabib, Connor, Frankie Edgar, this has been the main highlight division for the UFC ever since it began. And in a year where it looks like we're going downhill, the lightweight division has multiple matchups that they can make right now that would save and build hype for the cards. So let's get to it. Israel Makachev. You look at his notable wins as of late. Ronaldo McConnell, Dustin Poirier, Volkanovski, Place, Charles Oliveira, Dan Hooker, Alman Sarukian. He looks unbeatable apart from the first Volkanovski fight where Volkanovski did really well. You know, Israel looks unbeatable. He submitted Dustin Poirier. He submitted Ronaldo McConnell. Dustin Poirier did have moments. Ran through Charles Oliveira, beat Dan Hooker with ease. The only close fight with him was Arman Sarukian. Looking at potential opponents from Arman Sarukian, the second fight supposed to happen in January, but Sarukian got injured the day before. Dana White claims that he will not be getting another title shot due to apparently their doctors checked Arman and said he was fine. You got Ilya Taporia moving up from featherweight after knocking out Volk and Max Holloway. This is probably the biggest fight in the UFC you can make right now. Charles Oliveira, the rematch. Oliveira coming out from a win against Max Holloway. I can see them doing it, but again, Arman still can beat Charles Oliveira, so how are you gonna have him jump over Armand. Then Justin Gaethje coming off a win against Fiziev. Dana said he wouldn't leave it out the question. Justin Gaethje will get mauled by Islam Makhachev. Um, no. Bilal Muhammad versus JDM. Maybe he does move up and fight the winner of this fight. I feel like fighting Jack Della Maddalena is probably more likely than him fighting Bilal. Then you got DDP versus Hamza. There's talk of him going to 185. He said that he wants to take a crack at winning three belts too. So maybe. But I went with Ilya Taporia. I think it's simple. The biggest fight you can make in the UFC right now, apart from maybe John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, the two most skilled guys in the UFC right now. And it would be really the last thing that Israel needs to do at lightweight. I feel like after that, who else do you got there? Are you really going to say, oh my God, Islam ducked Justin Gaethje? If anybody is going to get the fight over Gaethje, it'd be Holloway. But Ilya Taporia knocked out Holloway, so that's the only fight you can do. If you can't get John Jones versus Tom Axel done at International Fight Week, make this fight. Next, we got Arman Sarukian. Most notable wins: Charles Oliveira, Vinny Darius. When he lost to Matias Gamrot, beat Christos Gialgos, that was a really good performance by him, a really good knockout. And then the fight with Islam Makhachev really early on into his UFC career. Looking at potential opponents, Islam Makhachev obviously is the number one contender, should be fighting Islam. I feel like Islam probably beats him easier than he did the first time. You have the second Oliveira fight, which I made that green since he won the fight. Then Justin Gaethje, Ilya Topuria, Dan Hooker. Um, I went with Oliveira. I think that if Arman's not going to get the title shot, Oliveira's the next best option. I don't I don't really see the point of making Ilya versus Arman. It's not a big fight. It will be a big fight to hardcore fans, but the casuals it wouldn't be. And I think that the first fight was close. The second fight, make it 5 rounds, and let's really see who's the best out of these two. And those two also could take over the division once Islam retires or moves out of the division. Moving on to Justin Gaethje, though, he beat Rafael Fiziev in his last fight. He has 2 wins over Fiziev. Knocked out Dustin Poirier. Beat Michael Chandler. Beat Tony, well, not only beat Tony Ferguson, ruined Tony Ferguson. He lost to Charles Oliveira in his second title fight, and most notably, he got knocked out by Matt Holloway at the very last second at his fight at UFC 300. For potential opponents, Israel Markachev, he gets destroyed by Justin Gaethje. Dan Hooker, I picked Dan Hooker to win at UFC 313. I think that Dan Hooker right now has had more impressive performances as of late. Really looks like he's rejuvenated his career. You got Arman Sarukian, who would just run through Justin Gaethje with nothing. Matias Gamrot, I think he beats Matias Gamrot. Renato Moicano, I think that he loses to Renato Moicano. Could be a close fight. I feel Moicano would submit him. I went with Dan Hooker. I think that you keep it simple. Rebook this fight. If he wins this fight, sure, give him a crack at Islam. But you can't really give a contender a a title shot off of 1 win, right? So yeah, that's what I think should happen with Gaethje. I think it makes the most sense. And Dan Hooker, he's looking for his first title shot. Moving on to Max Holloway. Looking at him. Lost to Ilya Topuria in his last fight was devastating. First time he's ever been knocked out in his career. Knocked out Justin Gaethje, one of the greatest knockouts of all time. Beat Korean Zombie. Well, knocked out Korean Zombie in his retirement fight. Outschooled Jair Rodriguez. Yeah, the 3 Volkanovski fights that he lost, but all of them were really close. The third one was pretty clearly Volkanovski, but those first two were very close fights. Then you got Dustin Poirier, who he's lost to twice, once early on in his career by submission, and then again for the interim title when Khabib got injured. Looking at potential fights from Dan Hooker makes sense. Oliveira, their first fight really was nothing. Oliveira got injured in the first round. Dustin Poirier, obviously. Um, then you got Michael Chandler and Patrick Finlay winner. Both of those could be a fun fight. Then you got Renato Moicano, which I believe would be a fun fight. That would be a hilarious press conference, but I think it's simple. Do the Poirier fight in New Orleans. I feel like it's the most impactful for both of their careers. I know that Dustin Poirier has 2 wins over Max Holloway, but those wins were at very, very different points in their careers. First time, Max Holloway is a young up and comer. Second time, Max Holloway reaches the pinnacle of featherweight, wins the belt, which Dustin Poirier never won an undisputed belt. Now he's moving up to Max Holloway. Or wait, nah, yeah, well, moving up to Max Holloway, moving up to lightweight permanently makes the most sense. Book it for New Orleans. It would sell incredibly well, and you know, if Dustin beats Max in his last fight, again, that's 3 wins over a a all time legend, one of the greatest featherweights. If Max gets that one back, he has a win over Dustin Poirier, one of the greatest in lightweight history. But yeah, I think this makes sense. Matthias Gamrot, keeping it short and simple. You look at his last few fights, lost to Dan Harper, beat RDA, Rafael Fizio, Benito Dariush lost to, and he beat Armand Sarukian. You look at potential fights for him though, Ronaldo Moicano, Ignacio Bahamondes. I feel it would be a fun fight, but I think Bahamondes beats him. Joel Alvarez, I feel like he has a shot at beating Joel Alvarez, and I think that'll be a really close fight. And then Mauricio Rafi. I went with Ronaldo Moicano. I think that Ronaldo Moicano makes the most sense. I feel like it's a closer matchup in the rankings. A good fight for Ronaldo Moicano to rebound. And, Gamrot is the younger fighter, I'm pretty sure. But for Ronaldo Moicano trying to give up for at least one more shot at the title, I feel like Gamrot is the best opponent for him. They would deliver one hell of a fight. And, yeah, I feel like moving on, especially based on what leads the division, this fight kind of propels one of these guys into the top five for sure, based off of that happening. Moving on to Benil Dariush, lost to Saruki and all that in his last 2 fights, beat Matthias Gamrot, beat Tony Ferguson and Diego Ferreira. Looking at potential opponents, Ronaldo McConnell, I think McConnell beats him. They were supposed to fight in January, but McConnell got bumped up the card. Ignacio with Bahamondes, I feel like Bahamondes beats him really convincingly. Grant Dawson, I think he could beat Grant Dawson. And then Mauricio Rafi, knockout artist, looks incredible, part of the fighting nerds. I feel like Rafael would have a highlight reel against Benil Darius. And then Joel Alvarez. I went with Ignacio Bahamondes. I think that this fight makes the most sense. Bahamondes is coming out for an unreal performance. Benil Darius has been pretty inactive over the last few years. If he somehow shocks the world, maybe you give him another top contender. But right now, I want to see him fight a younger guy so that we get an active fighter out of it. And I do believe that Ignacio Bahamondes is going to be atop this division for the next decade. Next, we got Rafael Fiziev, lost to Gaethje twice, last fight. Um, was wasn't as close as the first one, but it was close. And the first one was a war though. Lost Matthias Gamrot, but has wins over RDA, Bobby Green, Brad Riddell. Potential fights I have from Grant Dawson makes sense. Michael Chandler, I feel like Fiziev is just one of those guys that they would throw Chandler in just for a war. I think it would be one of the. You just, I think it would be a fight of the year contender. Think I bet on Saint Denis. Think he beats him, and then Mauricio Ruffy and Mateus Rebecca. I went with Grant Dawson. I feel like this makes the most sense for Physio. Um, Grant Dawson. Uh, I feel like it'll be more of a grappling threat to Physio, which would give Physio the opportunity to maybe show off something on the feet. I think it's a winnable fight for Physio and for Grant Dawson. It would be a notable win to have for him moving forward and eventually breaking in to the top 10. But yeah, I feel like this fight makes most sense. Moving on to Benoit Saint Denis. Now, Benoit Saint Denis got a massive push against Dustin Poirier, but since then, it hasn't gone well. He got stopped by Moicano and Dustin Poirier, but has wins over Matt Favola, Thiago Moises, and Gabriel Miranda, all by knockout. Gabriel Miranda, though, we all know, really doesn't have any striking. For potential opponents, I went Diego Ferreira. Diego Ferreira looks really scary right now. Knockout artist. Naza Haqparast, I feel like they could potentially match him up with him. Bobby Green, if they want to give him somebody that he could potentially rebound on, I feel like Bobby Green would be one of the ones he could win. I put both of these other two in green because I do feel like these fights are winnable. Then you got Mauricio Raffi, and I think Matias Rebecca beats him. I went with Ruffy. I like Ruffy. He's on an insane streak right now. Knockout artist. Part of the fighting nerds. I feel like I'm gonna say that a lot now. But I think this is a banger fight. Knockout artist against knockout artist. I would lean towards Ruffy, but I think that this would deliver on any pay per view card. And yeah, like I want this fight. If we do not get this fight before Benoit Saint Denis leaves the UFC, I will be upset. Moving on, why aren't you working? Well, for Saham, last few wins, Mike Davis, Matt Favola, Claudio Perez, Jai Herbert, Mikhail Bigwak. For potential opponents, I have Grant Dawson, who I think he wins against. Joel Alvarez, I think, beats him. Rafael Fazio beats him. Um, Diego Ferreira, I think he could beat. And Nazra Akbaras. I put him against Nazra Akbaras, as you can see. And really, I think this is probably the closer one, the closest matchup I've made. I think that this be against two guys right outside the rankings, and if either one of these guys have a spectacular finish, they will get a push for sure. But that's a fight I want to see. Moving on to Rebecca. Now, this is the last fighter that I wanted to talk about because of the fact that he had a fight of the year contender last year. Beat Arlaba, that said fight of the year contender. Lost to Diego Ferreira. Beat Roosevelt Roberts, Wake Rad Zahov, Nick Fiar. I'm a big fan of Matias Rebecca. For names that I think he could fight, Esteban Rabovic, I think will be an incredible fight. Very back and forth. Nazim Zadikov, I think that will be a fun matchup for him, and I think that he wins both these fights. And then you have Manel Torres, so I think that Rebecca versus Torres would be a war, but I think Torres will get it done by knockout. But those are just a few of the fights that I put together. I think I might do like welterweight. I would go about like the old school divisions, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight. Work my way up there, then go back and do the lighter divisions. Well, we all know the lightweight division is the heart and soul of the UFC. We need to get this division going. We have guys like Israel Makachev, Ilya Topuria, making their case to be the greatest fighters of all time. But let me know, what do you think about my matchmaking? What would you change? What other fights would you add on to this? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Later.